For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
The irony about us starting 5 minutes late is that we were actually here 5 minutes early, but we got all caught up in a conversation and we forgot to hit the go live button. But better late than never. Like celebrating someone's 40th birthday, it's good to acknowledge it later rather than never at all. We welcome you this morning to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show by saying, good morning, universe. Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Dave Manouk's in the top right. Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom middle. I'm your host, Drew Mindell, here to talk about the Winnipeg Jets, here to talk about the Manitoba Moose. 2 hours of hockey content coming your way on this Winnipeg Jets game day as the Jets look to get off the schneid. And what a schneid it has been, let me tell you, friends and family. What a schneid it has been. They look to get off of that tonight against the Washington Capitals. It will be a hard test against one of the preeminent teams in the NHL non-Colorado division. I think that's what we have to start saying from now on. Non-Colorado, non-Dallas division, but the Washington Capitals are certainly one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and they will make their lone visit to Winnipeg this year, barring, of course, a rematch in the Stanley Cup Final. Unlikely to happen based on recent events. Gentlemen, great to see you both on this Saturday morning. Let's have some fun. Let's have a party. Let's get going.
Good morning, boys. Yeah, I'm always, you know me, Drew, I'm always down for having fun and having a party. But I mean, I'm going to do my best. As you guys know, I'm battling a pretty bad cold/flu. That's why I wasn't with you guys at City Place. Yeah, I was telling you, Drew, like right before we started the show, I haven't been this sick in probably since the COVID era.
Right.
That
was all hoax anyway, so you know that was just in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. That was not gonna touch that.
No, don't touch that one. Just
I mean, you mentioned the Central Division, Colorado and Dallas. I mean, I know this is a Winnipeg Jets show, but we do have to touch on the Quinn Hughes trade, do we not? I mean, that's one of the biggest trades in NHL history. And how often do you have two Jewish players traded for each other? You gotta love that, right?
If the Hebrew Hockey Show isn't going to give analysis on trades involving two Jewish guys, who is at that point in time? But you're right. We'll talk about that through the lens, of course, of the Winnipeg Jets throughout the course of today's show as well. But the Jets have to, I mean, you know, we the numbers, we all know them. It's the conversation that, Dave, I would say is being had everywhere throughout Winnipeg. It's happening at the coffee shops. It's happening at the steakhouses. Everywhere in this city, people are talking about the struggles of the Winnipeg Jets. And
how many steakhouses do we have in Winnipeg, by the way, Dave?
There's many. They're having lots of conversations.
I wouldn't know. I haven't been to very many lately. So
Dave hasn't been able to get up to a steakhouse as of late, but that's okay.
Well, like I know Highs, and you know maybe.
Yeah, well, don't name the steakhouses. Everyone knows what the names of the steakhouses are, but it's my point.
I want a medium rare steak right now, Drew. That's what I want.
Steak and eggs might help.
There's a lot of red meat for Jets fans right now to talk about.
You're absolutely right. But the point is, Dave, as I was trying to get to, is that it's the conversation that is, I think, happening everywhere in the city of Winnipeg. I can't go really 10 feet without having that conversation. What's wrong with the Jets? Everyone's got an opinion on it. Everyone's got a plan of action. I think the only people who don't seem to have a plan of action, at least as far as we can tell, is the Winnipeg Jets themselves, as they continue just to try and go status quo in an effort to try and remove the losses or move back into the win column at the very least. The question, of course, though, becomes when can that happen? And the potential return of Connor Hellebuyck, maybe as early as tonight, is that the panacea for everything that the Jets need to get back on winning ways?
Look, all I can say is it's getting closer, and that getting closer is what we've been hearing from Scott Arniel for 3 straight days with Connor Hellebuyck on the ice. Everybody wants to know. That's what we've been paying close attention to. Yesterday at practice, I can report that Hellebuyck was in the primary net facing a lot of shots, doing some drills, while Eric Comrie and Dom DiVincentis were on the other side of the rink with Wade Flaherty. So read into that what you will. The Jets are not going to skate today. They're doing video this morning, and then they are, of course, playing the Washington Capitals, as you've touched on, Drew, at 6 o'clock. But I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. And let's be realistic, people. They're not rushing him back because they need to win against the Washington Capitals. If he's ready to go, it's because he's been medically cleared. And when they say, when they give us timelines, more often than not, timelines are always vague. So when we originally, remember, it's 3 weeks today, I think, that is when he had the procedure done on his knee. So you're looking at, in theory, based on the fact that earlier that week we had heard 4 to 6 weeks in terms of timeline, this is a guy who is perhaps ahead of schedule, or maybe it's right on schedule and we don't know. But ultimately, the doctors and the medical staff and his team are not going to let him go on the ice early just to try and get a win today if he's not ready. So if he's ready, we'll see. Again, Scott Arniel the last 3 days has been very cagey, keeps saying getting closer. He's not telling us anything. He's not providing any insight. We tried. Kelly Moore credited him from CJOB. Definitely tried to get it out of Scott Arniel yesterday, but Scott Arniel wasn't giving us, like I said, other than getting closer. So we'll have to find out. We'll see if there's any moves maybe on the NHL media site, Drew. We can kind of look at the back end and see if Dom DiVincentis remains on the roster, which as of just before the show started, I checked and he does.
Yeah,
so
you're looking
ultimately,
for the tea leaves.
yeah, so he remains a member of the Winnipeg Jets for now, and we'll see when they have to make a roster decision if that's going to be made or not. So that might give us some insight later this afternoon, but for right now, we don't know if it's going to be. I mean, speaking of Dom DiVincentis, maybe it's Dom DiVincentis in net tonight. We don't know who is going to be the goalie because Scott Arniel wasn't tipping his hand.
Yeah, and you're right, Dave. Like, he's ahead of Hellebuck. That is ahead of schedule, but it's hard to read based on if you're going off of Scott Arniel's comments. It's tough to really say with any type of certainty that Hellebuck's going to play tonight, right? So I think game day skate will tell us a lot. But I mean, how huge would that be if he is able to come back tonight? Because the Jets have lost 3 games in a row, and forget all the conjecture and all the talk about this is wrong with the Jets and that is wrong with the Jets. The Jets just need to string some wins together. Mm-hmm. Simply put, that's what they need. They need wins, and I'm sure you guys talked about it after the Bruins game. The Jets, even though they've only won 5 of their last 18 games. They're still very much within striking distance of a playoff spot. But if they keep losing and then you're, 6 points back or 8 points back, then it just becomes more difficult. But I mean, right now it appears, at least to me, guys, that this is kind of a crossroads for this season. Like, the Jets need to turn this around, and they don't want to turn this around, 5 days from now or 10 days from now. They want to get this going now. And Washington is a very good team. And Logan Thompson, if you like fancy stats, he's got the best goal save above expected. I'm not sure if Logan Thompson's going to get the start tonight.
His numbers are incredible, though. To your point, he's got he's got a 928 save percentage, and he's got a goals against average under 2. I mean, his numbers are Hellebuckian. If you want to,
I was going to say, Drew, he's probably the front runner for the Vezina right now, which some people don't. Some people, that's hard to believe, but.
I would agree with you, though.
It could be Charlie Lindgren as well, and there's a significant drop-off between Thompson and Charlie Lindgren. But the point is, this Washington team is absolutely stacked, tied for first in the East. Tom Wilson's having an incredible year, leading the team in points, just a few more than Ovechkin. But we know we just saw the Jets play the Capitals, but everybody knows how we don't have to go through the entire roster, boys. Everybody knows that this is a deep team. They get a lot of offense from John Carlson and Jacob Chychrun, right? We saw both of those guys score, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, against the Jets. I know Chychrun scored. I thought Carlson scored as well. I'd have to go back and check maybe, but
it seems like a long time ago, Izzy. I don't really remember.
Yeah, what was that, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, something like that, in Washington. But yeah, it's a big test. So yeah, if they can get Connor Hellebuck back, that would be obviously awesome. But
it would be helpful. I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, obviously, the Winnipeg Jets are a far better team with Connor Hellebuck than they are without him. Breaking news at 11. Yeah. But, there's still plenty of warts.
Yeah.
I mean, you're relying on Connor Hellebuck. I mean,
but Drew, what have they done? What has this team done for years? I mean, remember, Remember, like we discussed after that Bruins game, I mean, there were goals that Connor Hellebuck saved that Eric Comrie did not. The second goal, the third goal, at least those two. So, I mean, it's a different game with Connor Hellebuck in net. And I'm not trying to pillory Eric Comrie, but he's not the MVP of the NHL. He just isn't. And it's just different. You know, Scott O'Neill said it either yesterday or the day before, but I think it was yesterday. He said, you know, you take McDavid, take McKinnon out of a lineup. Well, those two, you know, the Oilers and the Avs look very different without those players in them. And again, a goalie is even more magnified, right? It's not like a goalie is just one other player. I mean, he is obviously just another player, but he's a significant part. He is the backbone. He is the guy who backstops his team. And so, yeah, I think that he is a guy who can cover up a lot of the warts. We've seen him do it literally for years. Now, this team was better defensively last year, so they didn't need him. They didn't need Hellebuck to be Hellebuckian, a term I believe Ezzy coined many years ago. And at least if he didn't, I'm giving him credit for it. But
I actually think it was Drew, but I'll take it. Look, if I can take credit for something that Drew came up with.
Have my big salad, my friend. I give you my big salad to go along with their steak that you're going to have. So have my big salad.
But I guess what I'm saying is that Connor Hellebuck, I think, would make a huge difference. Hello, like you said, Drew, breaking news. But I just think that if you could get him back and he's feeling good, and again, I've been around. He seems like he's his usual self. Like watching him at practice and stuff like that, it's not a function of like a guy who is being, you know, tentative. And again, like I said, his whole team is here watching him, right, Ezzy? So he's got a lot of eyeballs on him, including, of course, the Jets medical staff. So, like I said, I think he will be what this team needs because for right now, defensively, Eric Comrie, it's like putting a finger in like, you know, with a bunch of holes with the water and it's all pouring out. He just can't stop it himself. And, you know, stem the tide, if you will. And Connor Hellebuck, we've seen him do it. He's able to do that. And again, maybe that's what the Jets need, Ezzy, while they're working out their kinks. And again, part of that is Adam Lowry is still, again, hasn't played he's playing now, but he hasn't played consistently from his hip surgery till when he returned to the lineup. Cole Perfetti's still not quite where he needed to be. And Dylan Sandberg as well. I mean, again, like I said, like people, like what did we talk about with Ville Heinola last year? When everybody was wanting him to, I said, look, he's 2 months behind everybody else. And he's 2 months behind everybody else, having missed the previous season pretty much, and not having a ton of NHL reps. So you've got that situation with him, with Ville. And with these three guys, they're not quite, again, they're not the only reason the Jets aren't winning, but they're a big part of it. So I think that Connor Hellebuck would give this team the stability it needs, regardless of whether you like it or not. It's just the facts. You couldn't, I know that people are saying tank for McKenna, Ezzy, but the reality is when Connor Hellebuck's in net, it's never going to happen.
Team the tanks. Can we just like stop with the tank talk?
Well,
the Jets can't afford to be a team that tanks.
Also, we've seen, I mean, the Buffalo Sabres are the reason why you don't tank. I mean, they're the reason why you don't deliberately
15 years, Drew, of
bottom out.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't. So, I mean, and the Jets team has too much talent on it. I mean, they have Connor and they have Scheifele and they have Hellebuck and they have Morrissey and they have Velarde and they have, you know, other quality pieces. So forget about that. The struggling, you know, if it happens organically, that's a separate issue entirely. But this talk about deliberately bottoming out so that you can then build your way back up in some sort of...
It will never happen. I hate to be a huge buzzkill, but it will never happen with the Jets. And you just laid it out perfectly, Drew. There's too much of this core has been locked up, and there's too many high-end players on this team. Like, even if they wanted to tank, I don't think they would. They're losing right now. They're doing a lot of losing, but they're never going to intentionally tank. It's ridiculous. The Jets right now, and Dave, I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the way the Jets are playing defensively. Like, yes, the secondary scoring has been a big issue the entire year, right, boys? Yeah. It's not like that. It's not like the secondary scoring issue has just popped up in the last week. That's not what's happened. Scheifele, Connor, Velarde have been doing too much of the scoring, too much of the heavy lifting all year long.
Too much of the playing.
Yes, they've been getting a lot of ice time. They've been creeping up around, 23, 24, 25 minutes. They need more from Cole Perfetti. They need more from Vlad Nemesnikov. They need goals like Morgan Barron scored a goal the other night. He was in a big goal scoring slump. They need Morgan Barron to keep scoring, right? But if this team doesn't improve defensively in front of whoever's in goal, whether it's Comrie, Hellebuck, or DiVincentis, or Milic, I guess, because he got into some action, it doesn't matter, right? Because that, to me, is the thing that I've had the most trouble wrapping my head around. Because let's keep in mind, aside from Hellebuck, the Jets are completely healthy now.
Yeah.
Right. So, and yes, Dave's right. I mean, Perfetti had the injury, Lowry had the surgery, Sandberg had the injury. So those guys, like, it's taken them a little while to get up to where we expect them to be, right? But they've got to be tighter defensively. Like, and obviously Scott Arniel and the coaching staff, you know that behind closed doors, that's what these guys are trying to, get the players back to playing that stifling defensive hockey.
Right. But that's, I mean, and I think there's no question that any success that the Winnipeg Jets are going to eventually find is going to start by being far better defensively in your own zone. Now, there's an argument to be said, well, I don't know that they, I'm not sure that they can be better in their own zone. I'm not sure they can be better defensively because the roster is flawed. And that's certainly a possibility. And then what happens is people, you see them start to cheat the game, and then it just snowballs and goes on and down and down and down from there. Right. But the Jets absolutely, when they started on their upward trajectory over the last number of years, it started with good defensive play. It started by being responsible in their own zone. That is what was allegedly baked into their DNA. Now, of course, their DNA seems to, which I know DNA doesn't really change, but bear with me on the metaphor, that seems to have, they've lost that element of their game at this, so far this season. And that to me is, of course, a shock for all of us to see how loose and how porous they have been defensively. Connor Hellebuck will make saves that Comrie and the other goaltenders couldn't make because Connor Hellebuck is an all-world goaltender. But it's not going to solve all your problems because of how poorly you are still playing in front of him, how poorly you're playing in trying to establish a forecheck, generally how poorly these skaters have been playing, with the exception of the few that we know and we don't need to continue to name. That's where the problems continue to lie. I look at the practice, I look at the lines after practice yesterday, and I still see just a mishmash. I don't see anything that's going to give me confidence that they're coming through the end of this tunnel and that there's brighter days ahead. That's the problem that I think the Winnipeg Jets are currently facing. I think that's the problem that a lot of fans of this team are currently debating and struggling with, is that this team just might not be good enough. And so what are you going to do to try to improve the team? To me, that's the big issue. Never mind Connor Hellebuck. That's going to come. That's going to help. That's going to hide some of your blemishes. But your blemishes are still going to be apparent because he's not going to be able to do absolutely everything all on his own.
Well, why can't he? I mean, if Laurent Brossoit is scoring goalie goals as he, then why can't Connor Hellebuck score a goal?
Oh, you got it in, Dave. I thought I was going to scoop you there.
That was great. I mean, for a guy who's battled injuries for the last couple of years, he's trying to get back to the NHL level. In case anybody missed it, Laurent Brossoit playing in Rockford, the Blackhawks AHL affiliate, had a goalie goal last night. And it was a nice one. And it was pardon my French here.
Nice shot, yeah. It
was a ballsy one because usually goalies don't try to get the goalie goal when they're only got a 1-goal lead because it can lead to so much disaster. But the Rockford was only up by a goal in that game when he picked up the dump from behind his net and fired it the length of the ice, just over the fingertips of the oncoming forechecker. But good for Laurent Brossoit, because you like to see a guy who's been battling hard to get back to into a game, never mind a game at the NHL level, just get back to health. And he was obviously doing so, and then got that goal last night. He'll be back in the NHL this year. I think I can say that with a somewhat of a degree of confidence.
Well, you know what I was kind of thinking?
Not with Chicago though.
Right.
Probably
some
not,
other team.
not Chicago,
He's on a conditioning stint now.
Right. You know what I was I realized that Tristan Jarry was just acquired by the Oilers, but I was thinking there's been some talk that Calvin Pickard, maybe they want to upgrade over him, and I was thinking maybe Brossoit goes back to Edmonton, Dave, because that's where Brossoit started his career. But regardless if it's the Oilers or not, I think you're right, Dave. I think, pardon me, I think you're right, Drew. I think he will be back in the NHL. And yeah, just good to see a guy who's his injury story is crazy. Like he didn't play for a full season.
Yeah.
Almost two full seasons. Almost two full seasons. Yeah. So yeah, good for him. But I was just going to say, when Drew, you mentioned the line combinations, and I'm not sure. I don't want to take the show in a different direction than you were hoping, Drew. But if we were going to talk about the lines, Baron Taves, and Dave was obviously at practice yesterday. Baron Taves Velarde to me is interesting, right? And obviously, it's been well documented Taves struggles. We talked about Baron, he broke his goal scoring slump, and they've got Niederreiter, Nemestikov, and Nyquist together, and then you've got Lowry, Sentry, and Perfetti, and Koepke. But Baron Taves Velarde is interesting because you've actually got a little bit of speed there, and that's not a line, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, that we've seen yet with Baron on the wing with Taves and Velarde. At least I don't remember seeing it. If we did see it, it was only briefly. So I'm curious to see what that line can do, and I'm also curious to see what Niederreiter, Nemesnikov, and Nyquist can do, because Nyquist has been a healthy scratch, obviously.
They started the season together, the 3N line. Remember we were talking about the 3N line early on in the year?
Yeah, that's why
he's saying they haven't had a ton of runway though.
No, what I was saying is the Taves, Baron, Velarde line we hadn't seen yet. But the 3N line we've seen before. And boys, we should mention this. Dave's been all over it this week. Like Nino's 1,000th game, like hopefully the Jets can use that as motivation to win this game. Like, and Dave mentioned this during the interview, or when he was tweeting about the interview. First Swiss player to ever hit 1,000 games. Like that's huge. He's going to have a nice ceremony for him. Obviously, Nino mentioned that his parents are going to be there. So look at it's minus 500 outside. It's Nino Niederreiter's 1,000th game. Let's use that as motivation, and let's make it uncomfortable for Washington as it is going to be when they go outside. It is for them in the arena, and win a hockey game. Like it's like I said.
I mean, Ezzy, the problem is what evidence have you? I mean, we haven't seen them together. But I mean, again, I say this with no. I take no.
Drew, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Jonathan Taves being in a prominent role on this team. I'm talking about Jonathan Taves being in a prominent role next to Gabe Velarde. Velarde, who is a prominent player on this team, who is one of your better forwards so far this season. I mean, look, I take no pleasure in criticizing Jonathan Taves. We've talked about it. I just don't know. I mean, you might be trying to wring out a napkin that's complete, or wring out a sponge that's completely dry here. I don't know that there's anything left in Jonathan Taves to contribute to this Winnipeg Jets team in a prominent role.
Just trying to wrap my head around that sponge metaphor. I'm not really a big sponge guy.
Well, I mean, sponges can be wet. You wring them out until they, So I'm saying I don't know that there's anything left there. That's my problem. Are you wasting Gabe Velarde and his talents by trying to, by saddling him with Jonathan Taves?
Yeah, well, I think one thing is becoming more and more evident, to your point, Drew, is that at a certain point you have to say that Jonathan Taves just isn't a top six center. And the thing is, those questions, and that shouldn't surprise anybody, because in the offseason, many people were asking those questions, right, guys? People were saying, well, Johnny Taves has been out of the NHL for 2 years. He can't actually play a top six role. Like, he can't play 20 minutes a night, can he?
Ezzy, I'm pretty sure Jonathan Taves himself said he was prepared to play on the fourth line.
Well, and that's kind of the point here. If Jonathan Taves is going to remain on this roster, you almost have to, at a certain point, have to say, like, let's stop trying to make Jonathan Taves as a top six forward work.
Right.
Right. Like,
let's find him. Let's give him, if all he can contribute is limited minutes, which is fine. Let's stop asking him to do more or contribute more than he can actively give.
Or recognize that nobody should have anticipated that he was going to be doing anything significant in November, including the coaching staff.
Right.
And they should have been ramping him up from down here to get him up to here, as opposed to trying to start here and hoping that you could keep him at that level. Because again, if you go back and listen to the shows, I'm fairly certain when we were talking about this, we're like, well, you're not really going to see anything of significance from a guy who missed this much time. I want to say we said January or February when we were going to really start to evaluate what he's capable of doing. So again, like I said, I'm not saying that. I know that we live in a world where you have to make decisions, and you can make a statement, and this is the statement, and you're emphatic about it. But guess what? That reality can change tomorrow. That reality could change in a month. I'm just saying that, we look at what were we talking about before with the Jets, right? When the Jets were in there, kind of mired in it, they're still in it, of course. But had they won a few games in a row, suddenly the Jets are this powerhouse that we're talking about, right? Instead of a team that is just slumping along. So I'm just saying that, like, again, with Toews, I guess my expectations weren't sky high for him. I wasn't thinking that you're expecting him to be. I understand. Again, like I said, I'm not the coaching staff. I don't make the decisions as to where guys slot in. That's Scott Arniel's job, right? But ultimately, I guess my expectations for Toews were here because I thought it was going to take him a while to get, if he could, get up to that level. I didn't think he was going to be at that level. Sorry, missing 2 years. And again, like I said, it was curious to me that nobody ever saw him skate in the summer other than getting reports of what he was doing at the University of Arizona. So, I mean, again, like I said, they made their bed. Now
where James was skating, University of Arizona?
I think so. I think I'd read a report saying that or maybe Chevy told us that.
Why wasn't he skating at his own community center?
It's a good question.
Because there'd be too
many.
Let's
ask Mike McIntyre.
Yeah, there'd be too many of us as creeps looking around. Mike McIntyre joins us on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show live from Morning Skate, where the Jets will soon be on the ice as they get ready to, or they probably are already on the ice just about now, getting ready to do battle against the Washington Capitals later on. What's happening down at the rink, Mike? Anything exciting you can tell us about?
Not a whole lot, guys. It's actually, so the Jets essentially are not skating today, other than, I suppose, the guys that aren't going to be playing tonight. So we can deduce from who's out here right now. I see Hayden Fleury. I see Colin Miller, which would indicate no changes on the blue line from the other night. I thought Hayden Fleury actually might have a chance of drawing in, but I assume, unless he's getting a workout in ahead of maybe coming back tonight. But this would seem to indicate he's probably not. And it looks like Tanner Pearson is the only forward out here right now. So again, that would seem to indicate status quo. And then there's two goaltenders on the ice. Looks like this is Dom Divanchidis and could be Connor Hellebuck. He's at the far end of the rink here. So I might know better in a second here, but
that's fine. You can let us know.
But yeah, not a whole lot of guys, just Wade Flaherty and Dean Chenoweth on the ice. The rest of the team, they were just having meetings. And hey, I guess when things are going right, you try and shake up the routine a little bit. So scrapping a normal morning skate, that's a bit of a new one for the Jets, but nothing else seems to be working. So why not try something new?
Well, let's talk about that. Nothing else is working, so let's try something new. You wrote about that after Thursday's debacle against the Boston Bruins. And the Jets, with the exception, forget about Connor Hellebuck for a second, because that might be something new, and obviously that would be a welcome addition. Are you surprised that they continue to basically sort of just shuffle the existing chairs rather than try to bring up anything from the Manitoba Moose? We know, that there's roster limits, and we know it would necessitate a waiver move or two. But are you surprised that the Jets are continuing with the status quo?
Yeah, they're kind of feeding into the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again. And yes, they've moved some of the pieces around, at least in terms of the 12 forwards or 13 forwards, I guess, with a lot of different line combinations. But the personnel has not changed, as you noted. Really, not since they sent the trio of Lambert, Chibrikov, and Ford down. We've had the same 13 forwards here ever since. And the blue line has remained remarkably consistent. And obviously Elias Solomonson was up here for a brief bit, and now he's back on the farm. So none of the kids are up, and they haven't given anybody else a look from the Moose, a Moose team that is, as Dave can certainly attest to, is kind of firing on all cylinders right now. So am I surprised? Yes and no, because this is an organization that is patient. Sometimes you would say to a fault, and they don't rush to do really anything. And so sounding the alarm and raiding the farm, if you will, although I think that would be a terrific idea and something they certainly should be considering doing, I'm not entirely surprised that they haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. Now, the waiver situation obviously does complicate matters. As Scott Arniel said when I asked him about it yesterday, it's hard to make moves when you're fully healthy like the Jets are now. And that's true. But there's a bunch of guys on this team I would suggest that the Jets don't have a deep investment in. Mm-hmm. And whether that's Gus Nyquist or Tanner Pearson, who have sort of alternated being healthy scratches lately up front, and a guy like Colin Miller that, quite frankly, just can't get in the lineup right now. And that was with Hayden Fleury injured. Now with Fleury coming back, what do all three guys have in common? Nyquist, Pearson, Miller. Well, they're all UFAs next summer. I don't expect any of them to be back. So, these aren't drafted and developed players that they've poured years of resources into. And so if you wanted to try and clear some room on a healthy roster, it might mean, but if you're not dressing these guys anyways, they're just taking up space in the press box. Why not see if an injection of some new blood, some fresh energy from the farm, and no doubt you'd potentially be bringing up some guys who would do everything in their power to show that they belong here. And I'm not even talking guys about Chibrikov, Lambert, Ford necessarily. I think there's a number of guys right now on the Moose that would deserve an opportunity, whether it's a Walker Dewar, who had another big night last night with 3 points, David Gustafson.
Remember when Jared Anderson-Dolan stepped into this lineup out of nowhere last year and
played a playoff game for them last year?
Right. And he wasn't a superstar, but he was impactful. He contributed.
And he has some speed. This is a team that is just not nearly quick enough. Danny Zhilkin, don't tell me for a second that the guy Mark Morrison, recently referred to as a number one center at the AHL level, isn't absolutely chomping at the bit to get an NHL taste. So I just think, given where this team is in the standings, the status quo shouldn't suffice. And yet, here we are, as you say, Drew, it's kind of just rearranging chairs. And I'll go a step further and suggest they're on the Titanic right now, because this is a bit of a sinking ship. At least it feels like it.
So, Mike, as we continue to be on this sinking ship, I guess we're still on the ship, right? Like the Jets we cover the team, so I think we're still on the ship. So,
no, yeah, these men have not gone overboard. No,
yeah. But I wanted to ask you about continuing on that idea of making some moves. And I agree with you 100%. I was saying that 2 weeks ago that I thought that the Jets should be calling some guys up. And you just went over a bunch of different options there. Yeah. And I'm not of the belief that calling these guys up is going to guarantee wins, but I think they could add a different dynamic and they can improve this team. But is it your sense that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to wait until post-Christmas, because there's 5 games left here? Connor Hellebuck's going to come back, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about Connor Hellebuck. I'm not sure, by the way, Mike, if Hellebuck's on the ice right now, if you can let us know. But
I do believe this is him. Yes, taking.
Okay, so Hellebuck is on the ice. Okay,
some shots. Yes,
I'm sure one of us is going to ask you about him during this hit. But is it your sense that Chevy's going to wait until after Christmas? Like basically nothing seems imminent, because yesterday we saw, not only did we see the Quinn Hughes blockbuster trade to Minnesota, which you can feel free to touch on. Drew didn't want to talk about it very much, so I'd love to talk about it with you, Mike.
I didn't want to talk about it off the start of the show. I wanted to talk about it later in the show.
I know. Well, it's just crazy to me that 4 of the best defensemen are in the same division. It's really incredible.
Well, the guys that finished 1, 3, and 4 in Norris voting last year are in the same division. It's wild. And Thomas Harley finished 7th. So you got and Miro Heiskanen would have been up there if he had been healthy all year.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's absolutely bananas.
But yeah, just sorry to wrap up my extremely long-winded question, Mike. I guess, what are your thoughts on what Chevy may or may not do? Because I don't get the sense that anything's imminent. But you even look at the Spencer Stastny for the 2027 third round pick. Like, teams are making trades out there. It's not like GMs aren't making moves.
Well, Edmonton said we need to improve in goal, and you can debate whether they did. I'm not sure they really did, but they think they did, and so they did something. They obviously felt they needed something else on the blue line. They went out and got it. And we until yesterday there had not really been any activities, so it had been quiet, but clearly. And I think a big part of that is there's not a whole lot of teams yet that one might identify as clear sellers, because teams are still, everybody's kind of still in this. I mean, even Nashville, as bad of a start as they've had, they're right there with the Jets now, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's the thing to me, like, can the Jets afford to wait to do something? I mean, if they've got 5 games left now before Christmas, what if they lose all 5? Or what if they go 1-4? I mean, what's what's already a pretty big hole right now? It's going to be a smoking crater at that point. And then you're at a point where, well, it doesn't really matter what they do, even if they do something that kind of turns their fortunes around a bit. Are they really going to catch up to the pack? And if you're catching up, like what, then there's that whole debate, which is kind of another story entirely, about, are you actually better off to be, like, if you're not going to be good this year, if you're not going to make the playoffs, are you better to just be really bad in what is touted as a strong draft? Like, would it be better for the both short and long-term fortunes of the franchise to actually be bottom 5 bad, as opposed to right on the bubble, and the mushy middle, as they call it? And, I think the answer to that is probably yes, it would be. Do I expect the Jets to just wave the white flag, though? No. They don't have a ton necessarily to sell off either. And, certainly there's some UFAs. What kind of value might those guys have if they become sellers at some point? That's certainly debatable, whether there's a whole lot of value there in the players that, might fit into that category. But yeah, it just strikes me, it feels like this team has been waiting for Connor Hellebuck to come back.
Yeah.
And I suppose now these next 5 games will go a long way to maybe determining what, if anything, is next. Like, if Hellebuck comes back and looks like Connor Hellebuck, and the Jets respond with some strong play, I suspect everyone in Jets land will breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay, yeah, we got some work to do, but we're kind of back. If he comes back and they still get pumped, even if they don't get pumped, if they just lose a whole bunch of games here in the next week and a half before Christmas, and the results don't change, well, then what? Now, okay, that's the last card you had to play. You got your goalie back, you got your Hart and Vezina winner back, and you still can't win hockey games. So now what do you do? So, maybe all this talk about whether it's guys from the Moose, whether it's looking to the trade market, I agree, Ezzy, we're probably, because of the Hellebuck situation, that they've been in a bit of a holding pattern, and now they're going to see what this team looks like with literally everybody back. And if it still looks kind of the same, well, then maybe the problems are even bigger than everybody thought.
Mike, the last 2 games, the Jets have been within striking distance of those hockey games. And when push came to shove and they were trying to push for that extra motivation to gain the zone, try and get the game time goal, they had nothing in the tank.
No.
And a lot of that is riding Mark Scheifele, 26 minutes, Kyle Connor, 25 minutes, Josh Morrissey, half the third period when that 5th goal went in the other day. So from your perspective, I know Scott Arniel seemed like, to almost indicate I can't do it, yet he keeps doing it.
Yeah.
But how much longer is he going to be able to ride? And we know their conditioning is great, but like I said, my photographer, Colby Spence, our photographer, I should say, Colby Spence sent us a photo of the.
I'd like to think Dave has his own photographer who literally just follows him around 24/7 and is constantly taking pictures of him. That would be
Actually,
hilarious.
you know, Mike, what he is he actually takes pictures of Drew doing things, and then I just send them to our group chat. That's basically what he does.
That's exactly what happened on Tuesday night against the Stars. I'm getting candids of myself sitting in the stands, looking displeased, and these two Yetzes are laughing at me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what the look was after it was after the Connor giveaway that Comrie made the save. But
that was I did see that picture. That was a great.
I'm glad they're sharing it everywhere.
No, he's out on social.
I think that reflected the mood of the entire rink at that point in time. Yes. Yeah, I mean they're riding their horses big time for sure, and you're right. There's a cost to that, whether they're feeling it now, and you could debate. Even like to me, the play of like Josh Morrissey hasn't been at his best the last few games. Nobody can really say that they've been at their best, and part of that I'm sure is well, you could hear it when we talked to him yesterday. This is wearing on him. He's a leader on this team. And it's natural. Think of it in any environment, whether you're talking about the NHL or just life in general. When things are going bad, leaders tend to they'll step up and try and sometimes do too much, and sometimes you end up compounding your problems. Right? You make it worse. So yeah, it's a bit of a quandary here. I mean, they know they have a bit of a break coming up with the few days off over the holidays, but I do expect. They're playing every other day here now until next Sunday in Utah when they play their final game before the break. And I don't expect we're going to see a whole lot change in terms of the heavy minutes and the heavy reliance on, the top trio when you're talking the forwards and certainly Josh Morrissey. Part of it to me, guys, like ideally you'd love, Dylan Sandberg maybe to be taking up bigger minutes and you'd like some of those other forwards as well, even guys like Adam Lowry. I just think what we're seeing, like some of these guys that were coming off these long-term injuries, and you could lump everybody in there, Sandberg, Perfetti, Lowry, none of them look like we'd expect them to look. Yeah. They're still playing catch-up. And, those are all important players for the Jets that ideally you'd like to spread some of those minutes around. But, when push comes to shove, as you say, like, I don't know how much the Jets can lean on those guys right now because they're just not fully up to speed. So yeah, it's creating a dilemma for Scott Arniel. And wasn't it interesting, guys? Like I'm not subscribing at all to the theory that there's a divide between the GM and the coach, but I did find Scott Arniel's comments yesterday. This goes back sort of to your original question, Drew, where I had asked Scott Arniel about potential call-ups or what else can be done sort of not just within this group that you have right now to maybe try and light a spark. And he talked about how difficult it is to make moves. And then he said twice, actually, I can only coach what I have here. And I know some will take that as saying, oh, like that's a shot towards the GM. He's basically saying like, he's insinuating he's not happy with what he has here, but his hands are tied. I don't necessarily take it that way, but I did find it, interesting, revealing, if you will, in a sense that he said that, and then he was asked, like, what do you go ask or what do you go tell your GM that you need? And he's like, I don't tell him anything. We have conversations and whatnot, but yeah, it's, these are not positive days in Jets land. The joy level is low. They're not a whole lot of fun to be around. We'll see, maybe if we do get a Connor Hellebuck return tonight. And by the way, guys, he's now, so this was him out here. And I would say, and he's now sitting on the bench. This seemed like the kind of routine that now Dylan Sandberg wasn't out here taking shots on him like he normally would on a game day because Sandberg's not skating, but this felt like a morning skate routine, like for Hellebuck to go play. We'll see what Scott Arniel, he's going to talk to the media here in about 15 minutes or 10 minutes. What time are we here? Yeah, right just after 10. We'll see what he says. He may not tip his hand as to who his starting goalie is. It may be a mystery up until the warm-up. But, yeah, I mean, The Jets, maybe a Hellebuck return. They got Nino Niederreiter's 1,000th tonight. They've been embarrassed a little bit lately. Like, if ever there was a time to maybe get a spark, get a little boost, it would be tonight. Now, and again, if they don't come out with that, if they come out flat, yikes. Where do you go from there?
Right. I wanted to ask you about sort of accountability on this team, Mike. You look at Thursday night against Boston, Gus Nyquist gets back in the lineup. He takes an immediate offensive zone penalty that leads to a power play goal for the Bruins. You go back last Saturday. I mean, I think it's the third goal that the Oilers score. It's a lazy dump in by Cole Perfetti. It just goes off on a line change. The Oilers transition up the ice. Adam Lowry gets beat for body position by Matt Savoy, who is 7 inches and about 40 pounds smaller than him. You can't bench an entire team, obviously, but it does seem to me that maybe the accountability isn't as in-game accountability, let's say, isn't as high as it should be, or have we come to expect from Scott Arniel and the coaching staff.
It's amazing how many veterans. This isn't just a blame the kid scenario. I mean, first of all, they're the oldest team in the league. There's not a lot of kids to blame, or there's not a lot of youth on this team. But and I mean, we could add to that list, Drew. Again, the games are almost becoming a blur. But it was a few games ago where Vlad Nemestikov made a terrible play in the offensive zone, which led to a turnover, which led to a Dylan DeMello penalty, which led to an immediate goal and an early 1-0. And again, that was one of those plays where you're like, he should know better. And and like you say, the Nyquist play the other day, like Jets had just taken a 1-0 lead. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who's been a healthy scratch for 4 games. You cannot take that penalty. And sure enough, it ends up in the back of the net and unleashes a chain of events where very quickly 2 more are in the back of your net, and now you're in a hole. So, there's been a lot of questionable plays, and I'm sure there's stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't see and hear in terms of some accountability. But you're right. If you just look at what's happening in games, we're not seeing guys benched for extended periods. We're certainly seeing some line movement. We have seen guys move up and down the lineup. Other than the same few guys, the benchings or the scratches have been pretty consistent. It's been Nyquist, Pearson, Koepke, one of those 3 guys lately. And then on the blue line, it's been Miller and Shen, I guess, a little bit, and that's about it. So it's like Scott Arniel doesn't have a whole lot of options. And again, they're fully healthy. They've had Hayden Fleury here, who he's kind of been around, but then he, had a concussion, then he got the flu. I'm sure Scott Arniel at this point, I kind of got the impression yesterday, like he wishes he had like a 26-man roster, so maybe he could do more with it. But yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing that I imagine in like that players only closed door meeting, some of these things are being brought up privately. Guys aren't going to throw teammates under the bus, that sort of thing. But I'm sure that there's some uncomfortable conversations happening behind closed doors.
Mike, you mentioned line movement earlier, and based on yesterday's practice, it looks like Johnny Taves is going to be centering Gabe Velarde and Morgan Barron. And obviously, Taves has had his struggles. Let's just leave it at that. It's been well documented that he's been struggling on both sides of the puck, right? And he's a guy that they need to get going, and they've tried him on the second line, they've tried him on the fourth line. In your opinion,
tried him on the wing.
Exactly. So based on his struggles and how many different lines he's been on and how he's been used, like at one point does Scott Arniel have to just use him as a 4th line player?
Yeah, I think that time is now, guys. And I also think at what point does he have to use him as not an everyday player? Like I was a big advocate a week ago in Edmonton. I thought he should have been a healthy scratch. Call it load management if you want to, not completely embarrass the guy. But they were playing their 7th game in 11 days. Pretty clear that there was not a lot of fuel in the tank, and and that's kind of continued here. So his minutes have gone down. Certainly, I think the other day, maybe it was Tuesday's game, I think he played barely over 8 minutes. Like and he was on the fourth line that game. But it seems like now he's going to get a bump up again. We'll see how that works out. I mean, I like having Barron with Tays just because I think you need to have you have to have a speedy kind of energy guy playing with him. I'm not sure what Tays and Velarde would look like, but Velarde can be a finisher. Tays has made some nice plays that have kind of not gone anywhere. That have died on the sticks of teammates. So, that's a potentially
there he goes.
Mike just may have disappeared into the ether right there. I'm not sure what happened with that. I don't know if a cell phone died or what happened there.
The spinning wheel of death.
Yeah, that's what that is. Mike just
I think it's a sign that Mike knows Scott Arniel is getting ready to speak soon.
That's right. So, I mean, if we can get Mike back, great. If we can't, we appreciate him joining us this morning on the show as he vanishes into
I'm really enjoying his contributions right now.
I think he's trying to come back. I appreciate
he's back with a different. Here, let's remove this one.
There you go. Okay, there he is. We go. You vanished into the ether.
I did. I got knocked off the airwaves. Yeah, no, I knew my laptop battery was rapidly declining. I did not think it was declining quite at the rate that it did. So now we're on the good old, the reliable iPhone here, guys.
That was a pro journalist move that you just pulled off right there, Mike.
Oh yeah, good. Never let them see how the sausage is made, as the saying goes, right? I was saying I like having sort of a quicker guy with Jonathan Tays, but I don't know, like, we'll see what this looks like. I get the concept, and maybe he can make some plays that Gabe Velarde can finish. In theory, I still think, and I talked earlier about cards that Scott Arniel has to play. I think there's one more card in his back pocket, and that would be splitting up Scheifele and Connor. And I know he's very reluctant to play that card. I understand why. But at what point are you in the what do we have to lose by trying this category? And I feel like we're getting close to that point. See if each of those guys can drive their own line. Because I think Gabe Velarde is a terrific player. I'm not sure that he, on his own, just yet can drive a line. I think Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, though, could each potentially drive a line. Now, the risk you run is that you don't get the results you want, and now you've also taken away the duo that is driving a lot of your offense.
Right.
But again, there's an easy fix there. Then you put them back. I just think at this point we haven't even seen what that might look like to get them out there together. And I wouldn't be opposed, guys, to seeing Jonathan Tays get a quick look with Kyle Connor again, because I think Tays has some, we can talk about things that aren't going well with him. One thing he's shown a propensity to is he still has some pretty good vision out there. He can make some nice plays that haven't led to a whole lot of anything productive. But you got a Kyle Connor maybe on your wing who clearly is a finisher. Like, I just wonder what that would potentially look like. So, will we see that at some point? I'm not holding my breath. Obviously, the Jets are hoping that maybe they can get things turned around without having to go to what I would call the nuclear option. But at some point, I think that has to be considered here.
All right, Mike, well, we'll let you go on this last one, an easy one. Which goalie is in net tonight? Which one is your prediction? And if it's not Connor Hellebuck, do we see an NHL debut?
Yes. I think under no circumstances Eric Comrie. I don't think this is not a slight at all against Eric Comrie. I just think his workload has been so much more than he's accustomed to. You can't put Eric Comrie out here again tonight. So it's got to be one of the other two options. I do think it's going to be Connor Hellebuck. And I know there'll be people going, oh my God, they're rushing him back. I don't think this is a case of rushing. First of all, I don't think Connor Hellebuyck himself would risk, making something worse by rushing back. I don't think his agent, his trainer, and we know that they've all kind of been consulted on this process. Yeah. This is too important. Obviously, he's too important of a player. This is too important of a year. You think Connor Hellebuyck wants to come back too quickly and re-injure himself to the point that now the Olympics are in jeopardy? Absolutely not. So, if he's back tonight, that would be 3 weeks from what was a 4 to 6 week timeline. Should we be surprised that Connor Hellebuyck can do incredible things? Well, no, he's an incredible player, right? So I don't think this is a matter of them rushing. Now, is it fortuitous for the Jets that he's back potentially a lot earlier than expected? Yeah, I mean, imagine what would it look like if he actually was on the 6 week timeline, and we were, what if we were talking today about at least another 3 weeks? My goodness, they would probably be at the point of no return by the time he came back. So yeah, it seems like it's worked out well for the Jets. Obviously, they've been trying to keep their heads above water in his absence. What are they, 2-9-1? So that's closer to drowning than keeping your head above water. But they got a lot of ground to make up. They obviously have a lot of faith in Hellebuyck, and it'll be interesting to see, guys, not only when he comes back, but then are they managing his workload any differently, or is there going to be a temptation? It's like, okay, well, he's not going to make 65 starts this year because he missed all this time, but let's just ride him. Like, I think you got to be careful there, obviously, because they're going to have a lot of hockey coming out of the holiday break. Like, he's going to need some breaks. And, that's where it'll be interesting to see. Presumably Eric Comrie will fall into that backup role. But, I think they liked what they saw from Thomas Milic. If Hellebuyck does play tonight, unfortunately, that means we won't get to see Dom the goalie, just yet. But I do think we'll see him in a Jets net at some point this season, very likely, because I think they want to see what that looks like as well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we ever imagined a scenario, guys, where potentially we're talking about a fourth different starter, and we're not even at the midway point, because that just never happens with this team, right? I mean, not when you have Connor Hellebuyck, but this has been a different year, and a lot of things have happened that maybe weren't expected.
Maybe we'll get a little Isaac Poulter NHL start at some point.
Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press. We know you got to go catch up with Scott Arneal. We'll let you go do that. Mike, thank you for joining us this morning. Always appreciate catching up. Happy holidays to you and yours if we don't speak before the holiday season officially kicks off.
Thanks so much, guys. Drew, I hope what you see tonight leaves you in a. I hope Dave's photographer catches maybe a little happier side of you.
I'll tell you what, if Dave's photographer catches any side of me, I'm going to be concerned because I'm going to be at home. So that's going to be really troubling at that point.
You might want to look at a restraining order at that point.
No question about it. Thank you, Mike. Be well, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by Play Now, commercial-free for hour number 1. That's how we've been doing it as of late, which means we got to catch up with some commercial breaks, pay some bills, as the expression goes. More Jets talk to come. Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster, joins us in the bottom of hour number 2. Dave Minuk in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg in the bottom middle. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday morning, hour number 2 starts now. It's presented by our friends at Play Now. When you sign up for Play Now, you get to choose your welcome bonus, up to $250. Don't bet on illegal sites, bet with Play Now instead. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Always enjoy responsibly.
Hopefully some people are going to make some money off of the Jets winning with Play Now tonight, Drew.
Well, I mean, if you are giving some sort of weird Ginsburg guarantee, then yeah, that's possible. But yes,
you know what? I am going to get. You know what?
No, don't do it. Just don't.
You know what? You know what, boys? I think it is time for a Ginsburg guarantee.
It's not.
The Jets
it's
are
never
win
time
tonight.
for anything of that.
You want to know why they're going to win? They're going to win it for Nino playing his 1,000th NHL game. They're going to win it tonight. Ginsburg guarantee. Put it on the board.
Well,
Ezzy, do you got a score prediction along with that guarantee?
No, sure.
Yes, I do actually. Let's go with.
I like how he's so confident, but now he's just thinking about it.
Yeah. Now he's thinking, I'm so Washington 4, Winnipeg 2 is what he's going to come up with.
4-3 Jets.
Okay, well, that's a nice idea. As time will tell if you are right or if you are wrong. We'll find out. We'll talk about it later tonight, though, on the Illegal Curve post-game show. I think that's yourself and myself for the post-game show tonight. After
Dave has a photo shoot, right?
Yeah, that's right. Dave's got a photo shoot.
He's doing a boudoir shoot later tonight.
Yeah. So join us right around about, let's say, 10 to 9, quarter to 9 tonight for the Illegal Curve post-game show. Ezzy and I will talk about everything to do with the Jets and the Washington Capitals. Looking forward to that as well. Talk, like I said, no morning skate per se. So it was just the those likely to be scratches on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets today. So no particular additional insight into forward lines or goaltending. We'll see if we see anything.
Scott O'Neill's not going to say anything. Well, he's not going to say anything in morning. I would be shocked if he gives anything up today in the media availability.
I would agree, because I think at the very least, if it's Connor Hellebuyck, they're going to need to see how he feels later on today to confirm. Because according to Mike McIntyre, he seemed like Hellebuyck was on the ice going through a routine, but how does he feel? When he comes back to the rink tonight, how does he feel in a few hours' time? And that's when they'll determine, who the Winnipeg Jets goaltender is. Look to see if you see the Dom DiVincentis has been returned to the Manitoba Moose tweet, which would come out probably around 4 o'clock or so, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You'll know what that means vis-a-vis the Winnipeg Jets goaltending situation tonight.
Right. And I was going to say, Drew, too, our buddy Bob's Videos is asking, is Nyquist playing? I think, Dave, you would agree, based on the line combinations, it would probably be one of Nyquist or Koepke that's going to be the healthy scratch, correct?
Yeah. No,
I think
Pearson.
Pardon me,
Yeah.
Pearson or Nyquist.
Yeah, I would think so, but it appears that he's going to try and keep Nyquist in the lineup. Pearson was kind of the extra forward yesterday, so it would look, and based on what Mike is telling us from his observations at Hockey for All, at Canada Life, that he would be, if Pearson's out on the ice skating, then he's likely not drawing in. And so, it appears that they're going to try and
status quo.
Well, they're going to try and get these, again, like I said, you have to hope, if you're Scott O'Neill, I would imagine, because even if you are getting one guy up from the Moose or two guys up, you're not making a wholesale change. You're not going with 3-4 guys, right? So the fact is that you go, at some point, you have to hope, and that's why they're kind of moving things around a little bit, that you have to hope that the dam breaks for some of these guys. And we talked about it, right? Ezzy, what was the whole conversation? Morgan Barron hadn't scored a goal in 20 games before last game. Cole Koepke hadn't had any goals until he had back-to-back goals, earlier this week or last week. I can't, the time's eluding me, but
he had a multi-point performance.
Right, but my point is that he hadn't had any goals for the first 14, 15, 16 games of his Jets career. So you have a bunch of guys who are not, again, Vlad Nemestikov had 6 goals early. We're like, oh, it's going to be a career season. Vlad Nemestikov, I don't remember the last time. No, I do know, actually, November 1st against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Talked about it.
Yeah. 6 weeks ago, the last time Vlad Nemestikov scored. That's a problem. Jeez. Jonathan Taves, 3 goals. So, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. You're hoping Cole Perfetti, again, is another guy who we talked about it needs to start to do something, needs to start to contribute. Got back up to PP1, right, Ez and Drew? So, I mean, there are a lot of guys that you are needing to finally start to contribute on this roster. They can't just be, I mean, Mike, speaking of Mike McIntyre, he's been listing it when he shows the guys who have scored goals for the Jets the last, 10 days or something like that. And there wasn't, a 55, an 81, or a 13 in front of their name. It'd be surprising. Or 64.
When you look at the forward groups, though, at least how they were at practice yesterday, I mean, Perfetti, Lowry, and let's assume it's going to be Koepke, because it seems likely it's going to be Koepke. Does that line make any sense to you?
Well, the thing is, Drew, no, it doesn't really. But based on the fact that the Jets have basically been a one-line team,
right?
I feel like Scott O'Neill is just trying to get one of these lines going.
Well,
I still think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, look, your 3 best offensive forwards are Connor and Scheifele, and then a step below them is Velarde.
Yep, and Perfetti. I would throw Perfetti in there. Yeah.
Well, but let me finish. Then your next best offensive forward, at least based on reputation, is Perfetti. Mm-hmm. So why don't you put Velarde and Perfetti together? I mean, it just Perfetti, Lowry, and Koepke. What is
that would not be a line called Blazing Speed.
There's no line on the Winnipeg Jets that's going to be called Blazing Speed. I mean,
Fair.
That's
sounds like a good name for a horse.
Well, I mean.
It's probably been used, but I would imagine.
Yeah. I would imagine it's been used as well. There's Blazing Saddles, of course, the famous movie, but that's a separate issue entirely. But it just doesn't make Barron, Taves, Velarde. What's Velarde going to do on that line? Who's he going to be able to play with there?
But Drew, wasn't it you who was saying earlier that, or was it Mike who was saying that the idea of, no, I think it was Mike, sorry, but talking about, it was Mike, but just the idea of you're just, again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to spark something. You're trying to get someone, to the point where they could be immolated for God's sakes.
But put at least scoring talent together. Perfetti has scoring talent because we've seen it. Haven't seen it much this year. Velarde's got scoring talent because we've seen it in years past and this year. Put them together, find somebody to play up the middle for them. I mean, you know, whoever it might be. I just don't understand the mix of the lines right now very much.
Again, we're not coaches or GMs, right? But I would almost take Perfetti and flip him with Iafallo. And then to try and get Perfetti going with those guys, I mean, he can facilitate. He's not fast, obviously, but he can facilitate. And then you get Iafallo, which, again, fits more of what Lowry's line does, right? Tries to grind you down and get pucks deep, and work the body when they have the chance. So almost in that regard, like that's what I would try and do, just to get again, the whole objective is to get your offensive guys going.
Yeah. And
Cole Perfetti, with the production that he's having, I mean, remember, Perfetti wasn't signed to a long-term deal. Perfetti was signed to a 2-year deal. So he's got some expectations on his shoulders if he wants to ensure that he's going to get that next big deal. And right now, and of course, like I said, the injury hampered his start to this year, no question about it. But there is you need him to get going. And so, to me, like I would have, that's why I say, like, I actually thought Perfetti would go real well with Kyle Connor, because he can pass him the puck and he's got great vision. So there's no question about that. And then Kyle Connor's got the speed to make use of that. And the beauty of Perfetti is, one thing you can say about him is, at least generally speaking, again, hasn't been as great this year as usual, but his passing is usually where the puck is going, where you want the player to be, not where he is. So I think that in that regard, he could be a help for Connor. That's why I wonder if you just would put him up there just to get him going, get him feeling well again, right, Ezzy?
Yeah, no, I could not agree with you more right now. At this point in the season, I think with the Jets' struggles offensively and defensively, why not put Cole Perfetti on that top line? Why not put him with your two best offensive players? Also, I saw a comment from Dietermeister. We've talked about this before. What about going Gabe Vilardi up the middle? Like, is this not a time, like, to try things like this? Like, I don't, aside from Connor Scheifele paired up on the first line, I don't know if anything should be untouchable at this point in the season. So yeah, look, we're all big fans of Cole Perfetti's game.
Not this
year. Yes, he is struggling. I mean, I definitely am one person, and I'm not alone, who's pulling for him, because he's struggling out there. And you can see it in his body language, Drew. You can see him. He's struggling with his confidence. Get Cole Perfetti going by putting him with Scheifele and Connor.
Yeah, I mean, I have time for that argument, Ezzy. I mean, I would go with Perfetti and Morgan Barron up the middle and Gabe Vilardi. That would be how I would try and do. If you're not putting Vilardi or Perfetti up with Scheifele and Connor, I would put Perfetti and Vilardi together and then go with a Morgan Barron up the middle. I mean, Barron can bring some speed. He can bring some sort of forechecking. He can bring some sort of the dirty work aspect of it that, frankly, none of the other centerman options for the Winnipeg Jets, Nemesnikov, I mean, Taves, Lowry.
That's the huge issue, though, Drew. Look at all the guys you're naming. Like right now, none of these guys are putting the puck in the net.
None of these guys are doing anything positive. Forget about putting the puck in the net. That's going to come with positive play. That's going to come with zone time. That's going to come with, effective forechecking. We're just not seeing anything along those lines. Morgan Barron, to me, is the guy. At this point in time, you're talking about, what do you have to lose?
You mean 2 penalties, Morgan Barron, Drew?
Yeah, fine. Right, bad. Shouldn't take offensive zone penalties. No argument from me there, Dave. Scored a goal on Thursday night. That was his first in, what'd you say, 20 games? Yeah. I mean, I would just try and put a skill player like Perfetti and a skill player like Vilardi together and see what can come of it.
Then I guess, but Drew, just to clarify, because we're trying to figure out what the lines will be tonight. Yeah. So then your fourth line would probably be what? Taves, Koepke, Nyquist?
No, I mean, it looks like they're keeping Niederreiter. No, your fourth line to me would probably be, Niederreiter, Nemesnikov, Nyquist. That's the 3N line seems to be a line.
No, but I'm just saying, like, what would your ideal fourth line be right now, based on
Taves on the wing? Maybe Lowry and Kepke, or whatever.
Lowry on the
and you
fourth
can
line.
number them in whatever order you want. I don't really care what
Sure.
I mean, I'm just saying, put some offensive talent together in your top six.
Right.
Right now, you have. And again, these lines are so jumbled that with the exception of Connor and Scheifele, you have no clue what lines 2, 3, or 4 are, because it's relatively irrelevant, because none of these lines, have contributed or are deserving of much more time than another line as of yet. So, but from my perspective, put an offensively inclined player like Perfetti with an offensively inclined player like Velarde, put them together and see what they can do. Perfetti with Lowry and Kepke. Who's Perfetti playing off of there? Who's Perfetti working with there? You're putting Velarde with Taves and Barron. I mean, again, I just don't see how that line is going to mesh well together. Whereas Perfetti and Velarde, two guys who have that higher end talent, I'd like to see them have an opportunity to play together. I'd like to see them have an opportunity to do something together. They've played so far this year, Perfetti and Velarde. Let me just look at this. If I'm reading this correctly, I think have played 13 minutes together in 16 games played. The numbers haven't been great. The centerman there has changed a fair bit, so there hasn't been a consistent centerman. But, if you want to look at the 4 seconds that Perfetti, Barron, and Velarde have played together so far this year at 5-on-5, you can go with that.
Okay, Drew?
Yeah, I just got something caught in my throat.
Wow,
I got a little bit worried about you there. Drew and I have both been dealing with the malaise as of late.
I didn't get worried because I thought, wow, we finally get some mic time. It's great.
I thought Drew was just going to go into pantomime there for a second if his voice fully went out there, as I think Drew's talking to one of his kids at this point. But yeah. I think we're at the point in the season, boys.
I was actually talking to Dave's photographer.
Oh, okay, he's at your house
in my
now.
basement.
Yeah. He's getting a little glimpse, a day in the life of Drew Mandel.
Yeah, he's got the behind the scenes stuff. Sorry, Drew, I forgot to tell him. I gave him the lock to your house. Sorry, it's not a big deal.
No, I think we're at a point where, like, aside from, like I said, Connor and Scheifele together on that top line, I think we're at a point in the season where Scott Arniel is going to keep moving players around until he finds some line combinations that have some jump and some consistency, right? And I'm not really inspired by these line combinations. Like, we already talked about it. Like, I think, to get Perfetti going, it makes a lot of sense to put him up with Connor and Scheifele. And yeah, we talked about Taves, Barron, Velarde. It's the Jets need to get this turned around. That's all I'm going to keep saying, right? Because it's the way it hasn't been sustainable 30 up to this point, 30 games into the season, to be a one-line hockey team. And so unless Chevy makes a move, or unless there's reinforcements coming up from the Moose, we'll talk to Daniel Fink in about 5 minutes about that. I mean, it's the players that are currently in the lineup, right? It's got to come from within.
And the only thing I would add is that it's just an interesting perspective to look at the way these two teams, or the way this team is so different from last year, right? I mean, that loss to the Bruins was their 15th loss of the season, coming in game 30. Last year, their 15th loss of the season came in game 60. So it's quite a disparity from what we were used to talking about last season versus this season.
Didn't they only have like 20 or 21 losses all year?
Yeah, something like that. So it wasn't very many. And conversely, you talk about the Moose, so they picked up their 14th win yesterday on December 12th. Last year, 14th win came February 12th. So they are well ahead of schedule. The Jets are well behind schedule. And I think, you talk about reinforcements, Ezzy, and the truth is, and ultimately at the end of the day, like, we can talk about combinations and the way we think, but ultimately, like I said, we're not the coach. We don't make the coaching decisions. We don't say, oh, well, we think you should try Perfetti here, or you should try Lowry there, or whatever. I mean, we can give our insight, which is what we've just spent our time doing. But I just think that right now, the only thing that appears to be on the horizon for this group is the fact that you've got Connor Hellebuck, I would suggest, getting closer, imminently. I was going to say imminently returning, but maybe I'll use Scott Arniel's words so I don't get pigeonholed into saying he's back tonight or on Monday.
It sounds like it's kind of like 50-50 to me for tonight.
I think so. I mean, I think Arniel was just being cagey, and again, we'll have to. I'm sure Drew's monitoring Twitter as we speak to see if there's anything.
Indeed.
But again, I would be shocked if he gives any sort of insight on what is going to happen with Connor Hellebuck today, because all we want to see is that the Undertaker gif where he just kind of rises, and all of a sudden it's like there's Hellebuck, he's back, and just maybe some Stone Cold Steve Austin music to go along with that. Because that's, of course, pretty, it'd be pretty epic music.
That could be a gift just for the entire Jets season, the Undertaker coming out of the coffin.
Well, it'd be right now it's going in the coffin, not coming out of the coffin. But look, Connor Hellebuck might be the ultimate Band-Aid right now, Drew, because until you get some secondary scoring, which has been the story of, it's funny, I was talking to someone who covers the team, and we were discussing
Why does the person have to be anonymous?
Well, I don't know.
They might not want to acknage that they
actually talk to me on a regular basis.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
That's a little bit clandestine, Drew.
I understand where Dave's coming from there.
Yeah.
That people might not want to acknowledge they know us.
No, I want a name. I want you to reveal who it is.
You don't deserve a name.
Tell Big Daddy who it is, Dave.
I'll give you the name. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I was talking with Gordon Anderson of the Winnipeg Sun. Good guy, Gordon.
Oh, yeah, I got it. That wasn't hard to get out of you.
No, I mean, I would have given it to you. I wasn't trying to be. It was just
Finish
more.
Your thoughts so we can go to break before we bring in Daniel Fink, please. So I'm going to get the show back on the rails.
I think what it comes down to is that this organization has been looking for a 2C for how long? And I said because Gordon and I were talking about it at the game the other night, and I said,
Brian
listen. Little. Yeah, since even before Brian Little,
and they were Brian Little as 2C.
They were trying to
replace.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact is that this team that's been this team's biggest hole for 6 or 7 or 8 years now at this point, right? So, that is the biggest driver. Is we talk about it, and again, a lot of us were clear-eyed about this. We said if you're going to have Mark Scheifele, ? Lowry, and then Taves. That's, whoever that question mark had, but they have to have someone because they don't have that big driver. And Jonathan Taves wasn't going to be it. We didn't think right away. And right now they still don't have it. So, I mean, there's a lot of problems with this Jets team, but right now the biggest thing is scoring. Connor Hellebuck, people can say whatever they want, but the truth is
score?
He's not going to score it. Well, if he scores, that'd be something. But the reality is he is going to prevent probably 1 to 3 goals that we're seeing right now against the Jets every single game. So, the truth is, guys, Connor Hellebuck isn't necessarily scoring goals for this Winnipeg Jets team, but he's probably getting them into games that even if they don't deserve it, they're getting points out of. Something this Jets team hasn't done this year.
One team that's scoring goals and getting saves, that's the Manitoba Moose. Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster, is up next on the other side of these commercial messages here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks for spending Saturday with us. Smash the like button, and we'll be right back.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door. And you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of hour number 2, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show rolls on this Saturday morning. Big night tonight as the Jets and the Capitals will do battle. The Illegal Curve post-game show will follow that later on tonight. And then, of course, the Manitoba Moose, they're going to be in action tomorrow against the Iowa Wild for the 4th time in 4 games to talk about the Manitoba Moose, to talk about this weird series against the Iowa Wild. Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster, joins us live this morning on the program. Not a lot of winning being done at the big club, but lots of winning being done by the Manitoba Moose, including a comprehensive 6-1 victory last night over those Wild. That's right, it's a big word. You try and match that, Mr. Fink. I'm sure you can. Nice to see you this morning.
Great to see you, fellas. Yeah, a big win for the Manitoba Moose. That's a 3-letter word. As the Moose kind of cruise to a win. I mean, they got off to a nice hot start. That's been kind of the norm for them when they've found success, getting out to leads, things like that, and just using that to defensive structure that they do have to shut things down. That wasn't really necessary last night as they were able to pour on the offense. Something that we've seen a little bit more from in this Moose club over the last few weeks is they've been able to raise those goal totals and finally have themselves in a positive goal differential after that slow start to the season. So if this team can start to score on a regular basis, look out, because they've got the back end sorted out defensively. That deep forward group doesn't give up much, is really good at supporting the defense. The goaltenders have been great. We saw Thomas Milic with a strong return to the net last night. And with that, if they can get that offense chugging along, then they'll be a dangerous, dangerous team going forward.
Well, you mentioned the slow start that the Moose have now overcome. They're back into that positive goal differential. Was that slow start just a function of sort of so many new pieces having to sort of find their role and gel together? And now that they've sort of become accustomed to one another, that's why you're seeing the results? Because the expectation, given the off-season signings, given the reinforcements brought to the Manitoba Moose, both from former Winnipeg Jets players and signing solid veteran AHL guys, was that this team was going to be a very good team. We're seeing that as of late, but it did take some time to get there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you bring in a whole bunch of new players and it gels instantly. Sometimes it takes a little bit, and full admittance here, like there was a stretch there where the team just could not score goals. They would outshoot teams, they would outchance them, and the puck just, for whatever reason, wouldn't go in. So that kind of dragged on them a little bit. I think the goaltenders took just a few games to kind of get into what they wanted to see from themselves. There were a couple of players that I think early on stumbled out of the gate maybe for a few games. So all that kind of combined into that tough start, and then they started to chip away. Then they went on that big winning streak. That kind of reset them, and now they've just been able to win it at a high rate. So we'll see if they can start stringing some more wins together. They've kind of been one on, one off, or a couple on, one off. Obviously, you win 2, lose 1 the rest of the season, you're going to have a pretty good season. But when you're trying to kind of really create some separation in a very close Central Division, everyone's kind of fighting for second place in behind the Grand Rapids Griffins, who are off to a absolutely historic start in the American Hockey League this season. The Moose now have themselves a bit of a leg up, though the teams behind them do have some games in hand. So they're just trying to build up that cushion, so when those teams do catch up games-wise over the next few weeks, they still find themselves in second in the division.
Daniel, one of those players that Jets and Boost fans are really interested in is Elias Salamonson. He was back up with the Jets, played 4 games. Now he's obviously back down with the Moose. How did you think that he did in those 4 games, and what do you think that can do for his season with the Moose? Because I think you'd agree there's a chance that he will be called up for the Jets, but for now he's a member of the Moose. So what do you think that can do just for his overall game with the Moose?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really speak to how he played with the Jets, because the Moose played at the same time pretty much any time he was in the lineup. I think there was one game, it was Thomas Milich's debut, that he was playing in, that I actually got to watch a little of. But I mean, experience-wise, I mean, Dave and I were talking to Elias the other day, and he just talked about how valuable it was to get that opportunity to share that ice with those players and play with Josh Morrissey, and to get that experience. And Dave, I think you asked him just to measure his skill against, and how his game sat against everyday National Hockey League players. So players learn a lot from those opportunities. They bring a lot back with them. And for defensemen, that process can take a little bit longer as they learn the reads and the timing and the gap. I think that's one of the big things you see is the speed in the NHL is just so much higher than the AHL. So that gap changes and the timing changes, and that's something for defensemen to learn. So for Salamonson, it's an opportunity to kind of get eyes on what he needs to work on, apply that here at the American Hockey League level, and be ready to stay for maybe a longer stint the next time he's up.
I know one player we have to mention, we have to talk about, is Walker Duehr. I've been on the Walker Duehr train for a little bit, because he had a bit of a slow start, as you touched on with Drew, but he really has been bringing it, leading the team obviously with 9 goals right now. But what have you seen from him in terms of him? I mean, it takes a while, right? He has to get comfortable. He was with Calgary for a long time. I know he ended up in San Jose for a bit, but from your perspective, just that type of player, and the type of impact he would have on all these young prospects who are watching a guy who's been considered a good veteran, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think it took, he's a good example. It took him a few games and a little bit to get settled in, and then he got onto that line with Mason Shaw and David Gustafson, and they've just been running roughshod over competition. But even that line took a while to find itself offensively. Now we're really starting to see it of late, especially last night, where 2 of the members of that line had 3 points, and David Gustafson had a pair of points as well. So you're starting to see that come together offensively. But with Walker Duehr, I mean, he's just a menace. I mean, when you have a guy that's that big and that fast, can close on defensemen that quickly, you know that every defenseman heading back for pucks is wondering, how close is he? How much time do I have here? Because he has the ability to skate right past you and grab the puck, or just absolutely deck players into the wall, which is what we saw a few times last night. And then following up right behind him is the Gus Bus, who's able to track pucks like nobody's business and create all sorts of problems down low. And then Mason Shaw's flitting around the zone, not as big as those two, but he's a cannonball on skates. So when you're out against that line, there's all sorts of trouble for the opposition. We saw them create a whole bunch of turnover situations, which resulted in offense for the Moose. So Walker Duehr has been able to really get that offense going, and we've seen him close on a few more chances. He could be sitting around 13, 14 goals right now, and it wouldn't have shocked me because of the chances he was getting. Well, now those are starting to drop for him. He's got 3-point games in 2 of his past 4 games, tied for the Moose lead with Mason Shaw, up to 17 points now. So those numbers, those offensive numbers, starting to look a little bit better as they start to climb, and kind of the Moose didn't really have anybody in the top 100 in scoring in the American Hockey League. Now those guys are into the top 60. So starting to climb up the ranks there, but this team is just so deep, has so many offensive options when everything's clicking, and we're starting to see that bear out.
to that, with that in mind, are you expecting that the power play is going to improve for the Manitoba Moose? That's towards the bottom of the AHL standings. The PK, on the flip side, second overall in the AHL. So maybe just this on the special teams for the Manitoba Moose as of late. The PK has obviously been a driver. It's been a great success for the Moose. The power play's got some room to improve still, though.
Yeah, I mean, when the Moose went on that 6-game winning streak, the penalty kill actually outscored their opposition's power plays. So it was some impressive stuff. And they generate a lot of offensive chances. We saw a couple of really good looks last night. They haven't had a shorthanded goal in the last little bit, but that penalty kill just plays with so much confidence. And it really is impressive to watch. The Wild had a pretty good outing, kind of their first time onto the power play. But once the Moose were able to get the puck out of the zone the next couple of times, it was just over. There was no opportunities whatsoever. I mean, the Moose started the second period down a man for about 3 minutes with some overlapping penalties. No shots on goal for the Wild. So now their power play has struggled this season as well, but that penalty kill is looking real sharp still and doesn't seem to be kind of taking any relaxation and getting too comfortable. They've been really on their toes. Power play, I mean, it's kind of one of the areas that the Moose still need to improve on it, and that comes with the offense, right? So they've struggled at times on the man advantage, but started to see over the last few games, obviously went 1 for 9 in Iowa, but scored at a key time on a 5-on-3. They've been dynamite when they've been able to get up 2 men. Last night we saw them very effective on the power play on their chances. Their first 3, really, their fourth one, they didn't roll out the usual units with the game sitting 6-1, but their first 3 chances, they generated a ton of opportunities. One time out there had 5 or 6 shots on goal. They scored a goal their first power play chance. So those are the signs that you want to see, and we saw them pretty effective in Chicago a few games ago. So starting to see more of these games where the power play is generating momentum, getting chances, and we'll see if those pucks start to fall on a consistent basis. Power play goals in back-to-back games. We'll see if they can add to that tomorrow.
So, Dan, we can see some players behind you on the ice at Hockey for All Center. Also should mention Hockey Manitoba, of course, a partner with the Manitoba Moose. For those who don't know, I work at Hockey Manitoba. Girls Hockey United weekend is also going on at Hockey for All Center. So just wanted to get that plug in there as well. A great celebration of the female game. Is it safe to say that Tyson Empey isn't on the ice and he's just icing down his knuckles after his 2 fights last night, Dan?
Yeah, I think the group you're seeing in behind me would be Fabian Wagner, Jacob Julian, and Colby Barlow in the IR skate here this morning. But he certainly made an impact, multiple impacts last night, getting into it with Mark Lewinsky after I think he'd been watching from the press box and having to see Lewinsky run around for a couple of games and wasn't having any of that yesterday. And then obviously, Wyatt Newpower delivers a big hit in on Danny Zhilkin, so he had to answer for that as well. So, and Empey certainly got the better of that tilt. So, I mean, he's, as teammates go, Tyson Empey is a top guy for this room, and his presence brings, I mean, he's a bit of a police officer out there at times. You have to keep your head up. He brings just a solid game overall. So it's an opportunity for him to get into the lineup. He's been waiting for that chance for the last little bit because the Moose, again, just by virtue of being so deep, the coaches have some tough decisions to make, and there's players that have to get in. And so sometimes that leaves some players on the outside. So for Tyson Empey, he showed what he can do in the albeit limited minutes last night because he was out of the game pretty quick, but we'll see if maybe gets a little more runway his next time out here.
Daniel, one of the benefits of having such a deep roster is the impact it can have on your prospects. And there are a lot of Jets prospects that are on this Manitoba Moose team. But what are you seeing? You don't have to give me specifics like whether, about a player, but just in terms of how the benefit that these guys are experiencing from having a guy like Phil DiGiuseppe, who's, won with Abbotsford last year, and he's been in the league a long time, and the Walker Dewars, all of these veteran guys, the kind of impact they're having on the Braden Yaggers and the Danny Zhilkins and the Brad Lamberts and the Nikita Chibrikovs. Because you're around the team. I mean, you get to see the behind the scenes stuff that most nobody else gets to see.
Yeah, and I think another good example, a real good example, is just the progression of Danny Zhilkin. And I think you see the opportunity for him to play with some of these players on a consistent basis, and his progression from where he came into the American Hockey League to where he sits right now is impressive. And a lot of that is because of the players that he has skated with and learned from on a daily basis. So when you have the opportunity for these young players to really develop their game alongside players who have been through it for Ashton Sotner's case, played his 500th game the other weekend in Iowa, and is played in the league for 11 seasons. So these are the guys that it's not that they're not learning anymore. They know exactly what they're doing on a daily basis, and they're able to impart that, because the tough part about being a pro and the tougher part about being a National Hockey League player is consistency. That's usually what separates players in the American Hockey League from players in the National Hockey League. They're pretty much anybody on the Moose roster could play in the National Hockey League tomorrow. What are they going to give you offensively? What are they going to give you for 60 minutes? That's the question, right? So can you sustain your play for 60 minutes throughout a game, through your however many shifts you're going to get? Can you do that now for a period, 2 periods, 3 periods, 2 games, 3 games, 82 games? Can you sustain that? That's the question for a lot of players, and trying to make that jump. And that's what coaches want to see, is the same player every game. And you start to look at guys like Mason Shaw, Ashton Sotner. They are the same player every game of the season all year long. So that's what you're trying to impart on a lot of your prospects, in addition to the basics of the game and following your systems and playing with that aggression, things like that.
Daniel, you mentioned Ashton Sotner's name a couple of times, and usually this would be Ezzy's area of expertise from the Flin Flon connection that he has. But I'll go because
my dad's from Flin Flon, Dan. That's
it's a great town. Yeah, love the Whitney for him.
And Ashton Sotner, of course, born in Flin Flon. It wasn't raised there, but he was born there. But from your perspective, what kind of impact does he have on this team? I mean, we saw him. He's been on this team now for a number of years, and a huge milestone last week in Iowa, playing in his 500th AHL game.
Yeah, I think what I always go back to tell people about Ashton Sotner is the guy was here for like a week in 2020 and was already named an alternate captain of the team before jetting off to the Vancouver Canucks taxi squad during that bubble season. So that's the kind of impact he made walking in the door here in Manitoba. So you got the sense that maybe when his time in that organization was done, he was going to find his way back here, and he certainly did. And when you look at what he brings on the ice, talking about players who are just the same every single night, and he knows his game, he knows how he needs to play to be successful, and he just goes out and does that. And on top of that, obviously brings more life experience as one of the older players on the roster, has a family, and he's really kind of made Winnipeg home here with this Manitoba Moose team. So when you have players like that who can roll out there every night, be the same player, be a voice in the room, be somebody that these younger players can look to as a guy who has been through it, who has come up, and not a high draft pick or anything like that. He was a signed player coming out of junior hockey where he played with the Edmonton Oil Kings. He won in junior as well, and just made his career throughout this American Hockey League. And it's tough being a defensive defenseman in this league sometimes, because teams obviously want to see numbers from their prospects, things like that. So you have to be very much on your game if you're not maybe a high point producer in the case of Ashton Sotner, but he is able to chip in offensively, as we have seen at times this season. So a very balanced game from Sotner, and he just seems to play well with some of these young players. We saw him paired up last night with Elias Salamonson, and I can't think of a better guy that you want your prospects learning from.
Daniel, the Moose obviously playing well as of late. So, now from Mark Morrison's perspective, as he's trying to sort of add additional layers to this team and additional layers to the quality of play on the ice for the Manitoba Moose, what is the messaging from the Moose head coach? What is the sort of the next step for the Moose in their progression, throughout the season at this point, given their strong play as of late? He's obviously established the benchmarks, but what is he doing to sort of build upon those at this point?
I think it goes back to what I was talking about just a little bit earlier with the single players finding consistency. I think this team still is looking to find its game at its highest level, night in and night out. And you've seen what it can look like, and when they really get on a team and the forecheck is humming and they're able to just hem teams in, it's a relentless attack. The four lines are all engaged, and it's just finding that level of attack for 60 minutes. You're not always going to dominate teams 6-1. You're not always going to outshoot them 18-5 like they did in Iowa on Sunday in the third period, but it's just to have that mindset consistently, and to have that attack, to have that relentless focus, to be on teams just constantly. And I think once the Moose are able to establish that and really lock into that identity 100% of the time, obviously you're going to have your off periods here and there, but to just know that they can rely on that and sink back into that whenever they're in action, that's when I think you'll really see this team take off. And obviously they're already playing pretty well, but that's kind of the next stage for this team, is just to find that consistency, to be the same team every single night, every single period.
Dan, we mentioned that that the Moose are playing the Iowa Wild tomorrow. It's also the teddy bear toss game, which is obviously, I know, a huge game for you guys. Christmas cheer board donations go there. Hopefully lots of cash is raised. Just can you talk about the importance of this game? Because obviously this time of year, it's all about, not only just, getting presents for your own family, but starting to think about other people and, helping the less fortunate.
Yeah, it truly is a uniquely hockey holiday tradition at this point. It really is. I actually saw teddy bear toss trending on Twitter the other day because so many teams were having their various tosses. So I mean, it's so cool to see. I mean, you see it happening at U18 level, U18 games, things like that, all the way through junior A and major junior, obviously, and into the pro ranks. So it really is something that hockey has embraced and made its own, and that's a lot of fun to see. No matter the arguments of who started what, but it's something that hockey teams are so ingrained in their communities, whether it's the National Hockey League or a U18 team in a smaller community, that they are center points. And when the center point of your community can be a place for everyone to gather and then work towards bettering their own community, that's the opportunity that we're afforded as a hockey organization, to give people that outlet, to give people maybe that motivation to help out and to be that example that we want to see in our communities. So, and you saw the players out at Christmas Cheerboard earlier on this week helping to build hampers. Then, of course, we've got the Christmas Cheerboard that we're supporting with the teddy bear toss. And on top of that, it's all just a lot of fun. I mean, to see those toys come raining down, whether it's on the first goal or in the first intermission, it's a blast. It's such a weirdly whimsical thing to see, and to know that the whole community is backing that. That's just the bonus on top of that. So really looking forward to Sunday's game. It's a 2:00 puck drop again. Just bring new plush toys down to the game. If you haven't experienced a teddy bear toss, I can't recommend it enough. It's an absolute blast to watch everybody, especially we do ours in the first intermission, to watch everybody pop up if they're sitting on the ends and then hustle to the middle of the ice so they can throw them around the netting and then tee off altogether. That's it's a lot of fun. So get your tickets at moosehockey.com/tickets. And again, I mean, the biggest push that I try to make this time of year is remember to bring those plush toys along, because it's great to participate. There will be some opportunities to snag some from the Christmas Cheerboard on the concourse as well. But obviously it's more fun to bring your own, pick out what you want to donate to the Christmas Cheerboard. And let's all get together just to make some people's holiday season a little brighter and a little more fun and a little more whimsical.
A beautiful message. The Moose at home tomorrow. They're at home all the way through Friday, January 2nd, and then they head out on the road a little bit, but plenty of good Moose hockey happening in downtown Winnipeg. And Daniel Fink, of course, has the broadcast on all of those great Moose broadcasts. Dan, thank you. Happy holidays. Everything else, appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. If there's one plug that I make before I go, just remember to snag your holiday hat tricks, and you can find those at moosehockey.com/offers. That's where you can find all sorts of great offers for Moose tickets, things like that. But that holiday hat trick, it's just $80, gets you 2 tickets, 2 undated vouchers for January to April, so you can come to any game. It gets you 2 Moose retro toques that are very, very cozy. I was just checking them out yesterday. 2 hot dogs and 2 24-ounce beverages. It's a pretty good deal, and it's a great Christmas
deal.
gift for there's really no better one that you're going to find right now to take in a Moose game. So that holiday hat trick offer, it's outstanding, and I can't recommend it enough as a Christmas gift for friends and family. And you can snag them at Jetskier, online at moosehockey.com, or if you're coming to the game, you can pick them up right on the concourse. So be sure to snag those when you're at your next Moose game.
Tell me
Thanks,
more
guys.
about those cozy toques. You and I need the cozy toque this time of year.
Absolutely. And yeah, they've got the retro logo on them and everything. So
they're very sharp.
There you go. Dan, thank you, buddy. Have a great one. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Dan.
See you guys. Happy holidays.
You too. Take care. Dan Fink joining us this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
And just a quick aside, Drew, if anybody will, just to ride the coattails of that segment, if anybody wants to go to the game And I recommend that you've listened to Daniel. I saw him doing a promo with Brad Lambert for the holiday hat trick. But if you want to go in the illegal curve zone, we've got 4 tickets for tomorrow's afternoon's game to see the Jets of tomorrow tomorrow at 2 o'clock, as Daniel just told us. So if you want to go, Dave at illegalcurve.com. I've been giving away tickets right, left, and center. But let's give away 4 tickets for tomorrow's game if you want those ones, as he's doing the dance.
Oh boy, Crazy Dave's ticket making machine has been left on. Get in touch with him, Dave at illegalcurve.com, or on the socials at ICDave. One final commercial break. We come back. We'll wrap up this morning's edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Get you set for tonight between the Jets and the Caps, and then of course the Illegal Curve post-game show to follow. Plenty more to come. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by our friends at Play Now.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, and I'm not sure what happened to
I
Ginsburg.
removed Ezzy just until he got back. I didn't want him to be doing the old slide, so I figured we'd give him the courtesy of, getting set before he joined us, which appears to be imminent.
Okay, fair enough. I was all of a sudden.
Unlike with Connor Hellebuck,
Okay.
Connor Hellebuck, I can't say is imminent, but Ezra Ginsburg, I can say.
Sorry about that, boys. I was trying to sneak in a cup of tea. Like, as I mentioned earlier, I'm sick. Yeah. I've been drinking a lot of, I don't know if you guys like
herbal.
No, I'm a green tea guy.
Okay,
love green tea.
A lot of caffeine in green tea, though. Be careful.
I drink decaffeinated.
Decaffeinated. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Want to make sure. Mike McIntyre, who we had on earlier, Scott Arniel says or wouldn't disclose his starting goaltender for tonight. So time will tell. We'll have to wait until later on this afternoon, later on this evening, to find out if it's going to be Connor Hellebuck or if it's going to be somebody different in net for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. So the waiting game on that front continues. Scott Arniel was asked about the Quinn Hughes trade, bringing him to the Minnesota Wild. Quote, not overly excited to see that. I was really hoping he'd get reunited with his brothers.
That's
in
funny.
New Jersey, which is a funny line and still could happen. Just I guess he's going to play out this year here in Minnesota at the very least. So another great addition.
Well, he's got 1 year. He's got 1 year left on his contract after this year, right, Drew? So that was. I saw that on X. I'm sure you saw that too, right, Dave? Like, people are already speculating. Like, is Minnesota going to then move him to like? I have no idea. I don't think Bill.
It's a big cost if you don't get to if you don't sign him.
Like you essentially gave up 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, it's a big cost.
Right?
It's a big cost. It's a huge move by Minnesota, and you got to give Bill Guerin credit for being aggressive.
Taking a swing.
And I mean, look what he's got. He's got now a number 1 forward in Kirill Kaprizov. He's got the number 1 defenseman in Quinn Hughes, and he's got a goaltender that he has a lot of faith in Jesper Wallstedt, right, boys? So I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. But yeah, if he doesn't sign that extension, which he can do as of July 1st, and Minnesota's the only team that can give him 8 years now before the new CBA kicks in. So we'll see if he's able to do that. And if he isn't, and then they have to trade him, that's going to be obviously not quite nearly as good. But it's a big move.
I like the swing. I like the effort. I like the cojones that it took to make the move. But when you got Kirill Kaprizov, so you have a top 5 forward in this league, or pretty close to a top 5 forward in this league.
Yeah.
And you got a top 2, top 3 defenseman in this league.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You got something there to build upon, and you still have a fair bit of talent as well. So I like the aggressiveness.
No, Matt Boldy's a great player.
Yeah.
Joel Eriksson Ek is a great player. Let's not forget Brock Faber.
There's a lot of talent still there. It's not like they depleted their roster to acquire him, and now they have nobody to play with.
Although, based on what we saw from their AHL roster yesterday, they don't have a lot left on the farm.
Yeah. Fair enough. The Wild
Farm's a little bare, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not going to be a good harvest this year.
I'll give credit to Kevin Cheveldayoff in that. It goes to show you that it is impressive that the Jets have been able to sign all of these guys to long-term deals, whereas Vancouver has not been able to do it. And Quinn Hughes, a guy you develop him, you build
a franchise around.
Right, you build a franchise around.
Do you see his minutes? Do you see how his possession minutes versus every other defenseman in the league?
Yeah, they're incredible.
Every game he averages 4 minutes of possession. 4 minutes. The next closest guy, which I think was Makar, was 2 something. Like he is, it's unbelievable how much he holds.
He won the Norris Trophy 2 years ago.
I'm aware, Ezzy. I'm not surprised by it. I was a little surprised by his possession numbers being that much greater than everyone else's.
I think what you're trying to say is it's impressive that he was doing that on just a putrid Canucks team.
And I agree with Drew. I mean, like Vancouver is a city. I mean, it's an amazing city to live in. Honestly, it's a fantastic place to visit. I've never lived there, but it's a fantastic city to live to visit. Sorry,
I forgot that Dave had that high-priced condo in West Vancouver.
Well, but I think Dave's point is valid that, if the Canucks can't sign these guys long-term, and yet the Jets are able to, and, with respect to the city that we live in and the city that we love, nobody is, Vancouver has got some attributes that Winnipeg maybe doesn't have.
We got the sun, though. We got the sun.
Right. It's got some drawbacks in Vancouver, no question about it. But I think to your point, though, Dave, echoing my point, is that, it is impressive that the Jets, as we've talked about, have been able to get these guys under long-term contract. Now the Jets need to start playing better so that those guys aren't regretting those long-term contracts.
Right.
But at least if Winnipeg, if the Jets fans want to say anything today, they can at the very least say, well, at least we're not Vancouver. At least we're not the Canucks, because it's really thin gruel in Vancouver and being a Canucks fan as of late.
Did you guys, I'm not sure if you guys saw. Did you see Patrick Alvin's press conference after the Quinn Hughes trade? Like,
I saw. I couldn't hear it, but I could see it on the. I could see it on the television. Why? What was he saying?
Did you see Dave when they asked him? Someone asked him. I forget who it was. Asked him if there's a culture problem in Vancouver.
Okay.
Because based on everybody knows, it's pretty well documented that there is a culture problem in Vancouver.
Right.
With JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, and then the whole Rick Tocchet situation. Yeah. And then obviously Quinn Hughes. And like Patrick Allvin, like it was like he was surprised that someone asked him that. Mm-hmm. Like, and he gave like he gave an astute answer, right? Like he said, like, you know, we respect JT Miller and he mentioned that they've been obviously trying to look.
Here's what I find interesting along those lines, Ezzy. Every time the Canucks make a transaction, they send a guy down on waivers, they do something like that, you know, something pretty rote and, you know, standard, and the minutia of it all. The tweet that comes out of the Canucks is always, General Manager Patrick Allvin announced today that X happened or Y happened. It always just rings weird to me that a very routine transaction starts with
blessing.
the general manager of the team. I'm like,
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'm reading tea leaves that aren't being read accurately, but to me, it always seemed a little weird that every routine transaction starts with the name of General Manager Patrick Allvin.
Well, Drew, what you don't know is that they fired all their social media people, so he's actually there.
He's tweeting it out at the same time.
He's in charge of social media.
Another thing, guys, like just before we wrap up here, wanted to say about Quinn Hughes. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the fact that Quinn Hughes is the franchise leader in points for defensemen is crazy. And you want to know why it's crazy? Because he's 26 years old.
He hasn't played that many years there.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's essentially a point per game. He's got 432 points in 459 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's more of a testament to how the Canucks haven't had very many good offensive defensemen, or just the fact that Quinn Hughes is that good. But 26 years old, Dave, and he's already the franchise leader in points. I thought that's pretty incredible. I'm assuming Jerky Lume's up there.
I was going to say Jerky Lume is going to be upset that you you left him. Yeah, I think he's fourth all time.
There you go.
But speaking of four,
did you know that off the top of your head? That
no, I
Lume
looked it up. I looked it up. That would be amazing if I knew.
Yeah.
Speaking of four,
can I get numbers 2 and number 3? Is Kevin Bieksa in there?
He's not. Alexander Edler, number 2 with 409.
Former
and
Manitoba
Matthias
Moose.
Oland, 325.
Oland.
And then Dennis Kearns, 321, actually tied with Lume. Doug Lidster, that's a classic name from the 80s. Kevin Bieksa is actually 7th. Sammy Salo. Ed Jovanovski, the Jovo Cop, he's 9th. And then Rick Lanz, he's 10th.
What is this?
Harold
Canucks
Snaps,
lunch?
got to give Harold Snaps a shout out. He's 12th.
It's my dad's favorite player of all time.
Dave
Harold
Babbage,
Snaps.
former Winnipeg Jet, 154. He's 14th all time.
I modeled my
Dale Talon.
mustache after Harold Snep's mustache. Go ahead, Dave.
Former
You were gonna
Jet
say
Tyler
something about four.
Former Jet Tyler Myers. Well, former Jet Tyler Myers is 18th, and Tyler Myers, who's very tall as he, reminds me of a forward in the Jets prospect pool, Kieran Walton, who had a goal and 3 primary assists for the not very good Sudbury Wolves team, guys. He's now up to 4th overall in OHL points. So,
Drew, I think
the
we need a new
2024
Manuk prospect bumper.
I think it shouldn't happen after we've been on air for over 2 hours, and some of us have other
Well, we
things
were
we have
late,
to
Drew.
do.
We were late.
No, it's still after 2 hours. We're over 2 hours.
No. Now we're not. But I'm saying we were late to start the show.
We
so it's
were.
not
What about the
like,
fact
we're
that
not-
we almost had the perfect show last week?
Yeah,
I know. I was a little disappointed about that. It was very well. I mean, I think actually, Drew, on one scale, it said it was perfect. Anyways, Kieran Walton penalty shot goal. Speaking of teddy bears, made the teddy bears rain with his penalty shot goal yesterday in Sudbury. He had 3 primary assists. So, like I said, he is
He's tearing it up, Dave.
Yeah, he is. And again, like I said, that's what you want from a 6-rounder. So the Jets are they've got some found money with him. And he's doing real well. 41 points in 25 games. So we'll see. I would imagine they're in action tonight, as are a number of Jets prospects. So we'll keep you up to date.
We won't mention the plus minus.
Wow.
That's it. That's
minus
it for us
13.
That's
Sudbury's
it for
terrible.
us right now this Saturday morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Who cares about plus minus? It's a flawed stat anyways.
Ezzy and I will be back later tonight for the Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the Washington Capitals. Will it be joyful? Will it be sorrowful? We'll know in about...
you got a Ginsburg guarantee, Drew. Of course it's going to be joyful.
That's not worth much there, Mr. Manouk. We'll know in about 10 hours' time. We're looking forward to that. So be sure to join us after the Jets and the Caps for that. Big thanks to Mike McIntyre. Big thanks to Daniel Fink for joining us on the show this morning. In case you missed any of it, the instant replay is immediately available, and of course the podcast will be available shortly. Big thanks to our sponsors. They make the Saturday show, the post-game show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Label Daddy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, and of course Boston Pizza support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Keep it locked to illegalcurve.com. Keep it locked to our social media. We'll have plenty more Jets coverage all day long.
It's Helly Watch, boys.
Helly Watch 2025. Smash the like button on your way out if you haven't already done so. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. This has been the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.